one. Attacker.
Try not to get yourselves killed out there.
I can actually read those Japanese signs. It's so funny.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
I most certainly
Yeah.
cannot, but
You know this is kitchen? Yeah, it's a kitchen.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Call out makes sense now.
Yeah. So the enemy Reinhardt was crazy guy. He was charging us all around, but
Okay.
yeah.
So, are you ready if they're running a sim right now, or have you already decided they're not running a sim?
Yeah, I had no idea at this point.
Okay. Do you have any sort of plan if they do run a sim? Because it's really common for sims to walk out here and sort of drop their TP and TP from right here over to point and then throw up a couple turrets and then you have to deal with
I
that.
know. Like on the second defense, I was ready for it. On the first one, I guess I wasn't warm up enough to think about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about sort of having free brain power because you've mastered other things. Not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. I think I was more concentrated on getting the energy, perhaps, or like poke damage instead of thinking about the strategy itself.
That makes sense. I mean, you sort of got to get the ball rolling on Zarya for things to work. And obviously, you decided they were too close. You didn't go for any sort of personal bubble. You want to have it. Great. And you step forward and block the Micro Missile. Exactly what we want to do. No problem. Probably don't need to go into this, though. Like, you see this happen, and I'm good with this exchange so far. Totally fine with me. But I don't really need to back out of this. Like, I can back out of this for a moment because, hey, I want to make sure I stop taking damage. My bubble's over. I'm not getting anything new. But then as soon as I recognize that, oh, my Reinhardt shield is here, I'm going to go, oh, cool. Let me just step back left and keep doing damage, right? And that might seem annoying. That might seem like it forces Reinhardt into a situation where he doesn't really want to hold his shield up, and now he's forced to. But he doesn't have to hold his shield up to help you, right? Like you can, if you step here, just immediately step back here. You have a good 350 health. 305 health right now.
Yeah,
Fine.
I
So
see. Yeah, like I'm not picking, so basically I'm kind of wasting his shield.
basically, yeah. And you're going to go into this reload now where it's like, wait a second, you're a 75 energy Zarya. Reinhardt's standing right there with his shield up. I want to keep doing damage to the other team because that's going to potentially stop them from pushing or build you ult or protect him, however we want to think about it.
You're covered.
A little less good. So we go for this. And that unfortunately was sort of a yo-yo swing on his part. I get why it looks like he's stepping in and swinging. You're just gonna have to start identifying this Reinhardt and how this Reinhardt plays for if those things are happening, because obviously those aren't our favorite. We really didn't get much out of that bubble. Totally understand why that happened, and you're gonna walk forward and finish this. Oh boy.
Yeah.
He has to go down there. Like this happened. He did this. Cool. You just immediately flip over, which is good. But I'm willing to take that extra step to get him, right? You're a full health tank with your bubble. And you see he starts to retreat, and you immediately back here. And okay, now you'd start backing, but like there was room to greed that step. If Reinhardt physically pushes you out of the way, so be it. But I don't care. If you get out with 100 HP, if you trade 300 HP to do 20 damage to that Cassidy, is it worth it?
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And I really think you could have. Like, you only could have taken like 1.5 more steps to get him, but that was going to be enough, and you probably do get out with that. And, like, you're not walking into a Reaper, or, things like that. You're walking into a Reinhardt, Diva. Obviously, yes, they have other sources of damage, but that one was worth.
Yeah, but you see, that's the thing. Like in my image, it's like I'm walking into 6 people to get a Kree, right? I can imagine something stunning or sleeping me.
Sure.
But knowing that they have Diva, or like realizing that they have this comp and knowing my limitation, that would make my decision easier. But I guess I'm lacking the power of judgment here.
Yeah, and you sort of
Yeah.
you sort of build it out one thing at a time. Like you've looked at that comp, and yeah, it would be a problem if you got slept. That would be a problem, right? But like that's probably not what's immediately going. That like that. Yes, that could be a problem, but your Reinhardt is going to realize what you're doing, and he's going to push back up and swing too. He's not necessarily going to protect you, but like completely, but he's going to recognize that, oh shoot, my Zarya is. He's going to come up to try to get you out, and in doing so, he's going to go up and swing. Like you're gonna get a little bit of support for this. You're still extending a bit to try to
Mm-hmm.
get this Cassidy. But yeah, you do start tracking, okay, is this team weak enough for me to push? The same way you would if you were playing Reinhardt, where you're going, okay, I sort of need to be tracking which cooldowns are available. I know they don't have Flash anymore, but do they have Nade? Do they have Sleep? Do they have Storm Arrow? Those are sort of the major cooldowns on that team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you just sort of recognize what the team is, and you start going, okay, let me sort of track these one time. Is there a Brig that's going to stun me if I go in here? Is there a Reaper that's just going to blow me up? Am I going to get Maywalled in? That sort of thing. And the answer is no. Let's try and finish off that cast day. But okay.
So I guess I could, instead of on the damage and like everything at once, I could start with CCs basically. Like
You
look
could.
at Ana, look at Green. Yeah,
I think that
maybe
makes
that's a good
sense from
start.
tracking those. I think with Zarya, the first thing is always going to be thinking about getting your energy and getting your energy cycle right. So I get that your brain power is probably there right now. But yeah, so tracking the CC sort of becomes some of the more important stuff to track there. Sure.
I'm also probably reloading too much, I just realized.
Reloading too much, did you say?
Yeah, probably.
Well, it sort of depends. Like right now, you're in a situation where you probably don't want to poke at this team. I don't actually dislike this one, and the reason I don't dislike this one is you don't really want to poke at this team right now. You're under 300 health. Do you really get anything by poking at this team? Ult
No.
charge, sure. Damp pressure on them, sure. But, like, no, you don't have a Rhine shield right now. They're not sort of pushing. There's no one easy for you to shoot at. You could, yeah, rather than reload, I'd prefer that you take one step over here and shoot at the D.Va. That is true. But conceptually, sort of going, hey, I'm at this health level. I don't need to keep this angle open because they're not instead shooting at my Reinhardt or instead shooting at my Cassidy or anything like that. So I don't necessarily mind this one. If you were still at 400 health, I would. But yeah.
Nice.
But I do exactly want this D.Va dealt with more than I want the other things dealt with. Like, she's on the aggressive off angle, and she's actually here making it much easier for her team to push, making it much easier for her team to rotate. The faster we can put real pressure on her, she, when she's in positions on off angles like this, she frequently will have used boosters to take them, which means, hey, you can get a lot of damage on her that she can't really answer. But B, when she's on the angle like this, Reinhardt can't block both this direction and this direction. So like we want to put the pressure on this. This is an off angle. This is like a damage buff for her or for her team, however we want to think about it. So like if we do damage to her, we're gonna remove that damage buff that they effectively have. And I'm calling it a damage buff because, they get to shoot from multiple directions. Your strafes against them don't really work against her and vice versa. So let's try to prioritize the person on the angle, which is someone you like shooting at as high energy Zarya anyway.
And here is the famous charge.
Yep. Not a big deal. You see this? You hear it. You also, you hear it. You see this crazy aggression. So you would try. You probably are going to take a step left. You're potentially going to bubble yourself because you're worried about that and you're not sure exactly what's going on. But ultimately, you are going to hard turn here, like hard 180 and try to bubble your Rhine as well. And somehow you did. Wow, okay. I'm not sure which frame of the screen actually lets you do that, but okay.
Assistance would be appreciated.
Sure.
Yeah, now I'm so low that...
You are so low and you are in some trouble, and your Ana is in a place where she's not going to be able to get you.
Oh god, she was here. Oh my god.
I have no idea that I wouldn't have expected her to be there either, so I don't really blame you for that one. I'm sort of staring at like, where's my Ana? Like right over
Yeah.
Okay, so this is fine. You're gonna just try to. I mean, you are really low. It's true, but this Hanzo, you guys can trade out this Hanzo for sure at least. And if you trade out this Hanzo, well, maybe we can find our way into this fight. So hopefully there's something here. Good. Okay, so
Yeah.
you go like this. Actually, I'll go here.
Assistance would be appreciated.
You have 68 ammo. Okay, weird.
Ready for battle.
Sure. So now you're at 94 ammo. You push forward. I'm fine with this. You had your full ammo. That reload is fine. You push forward here. You bubble because you're scared, you're low health, and you sort of recognize that you're walking into this. I don't love this bubble because you don't know that you're taking damage yet, but you are stepping into something that is very probable that you'll take damage. You're already low health, and he gets the nano. Fine. Problem, of course, becomes... Like, I don't like your bubble. It turns out your bubble was right. But if we look at sort of when you bubble here, and yes, Cassidy is rotated in here, so your bubble is effectively correct. But I don't think you know that this Cassidy is here yet. I think you more know that this team is here, potentially here.
Yeah.
And I kind of do want to greed this bubble for another half second because
I see.
you're just going to be stuck, right? Like, you know you're not getting healing for some reason. Your Ana isn't over there, so you're not likely to get healing. So now you do this, you take a very direct route, and there's just no way you're going to make it out, right? And now you're sort of more vulnerable. Their whole team can see you rather than just the Cassidy. If you knew the Cassidy was here, fine, I'm good with the bubble, but that wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, I know that I was opening the angle and I like just bubbled because I knew they're gonna start shooting at me.
I
Didn't
know.
realize I had enough health to do it later. Yeah, maybe it's something I have to train as well.
Yeah, you know they're gonna shoot at you because you're already low health. They're likely to start shooting at you, but you want to really train the habit to be pretty specific. For you have a very high level of certainty that they're gonna shoot at you, like they're already shooting at you type thing. It's gonna be hard for them to stop. You're really going for that with Zarya, and you had less than 200 health, so that's a tough situation. Again, if you knew the Cassidy was standing right there, totally fine with that bubble. Otherwise, I really would have liked to delay it that extra half second, because I don't want to walk into their sight line with my bubble up. It's real easy if they haven't started firing for them to not fire. Whereas if they're already shooting, it's much harder for them to stop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. I don't want to go too much into that example because ultimately that's kind of a counterexample.
Yeah. I also didn't realize the Reinhardt survived. I thought they both went off the map for some reason. I didn't realize he's standing there. It's so stupid.
Yep. And that is the thing. You did potentially have I totally get why you went where you went. You basically had to deal with the Cassidy. He got the nano. Unfortunate. Your other kite path was potentially behind you, back towards where your Reinhardt went.
Yeah.
But that would have meant leaving that Hanzo just in the middle of the open there. That doesn't really make a ton of sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Though if you knew your Ana was back there, potentially you take your kite path anyway. I'm not really going to be too annoyed that you didn't know your Ana was there, though, because that was just a fun position.
Barrier activating.
Yeah, so I'm going to be a little more greedy than this. You tried. You went like this, and you went, hey, is there anything I can throw right-clicks at? And then you back out here, and I don't want you to get stuck. I don't want you to get stuck by, like, a Mei wall. I don't want you to, I don't know, get hit by Widow headshots, anything like that. If there was, like, super strong one-shot level poke, even though it doesn't one-shot you, I'd be like, yeah, what you're doing is fine. But if they had a way to stop you from getting out, I'd say what you're doing is fine. But right now, I'm pretty okay, honestly, walking out to here and throwing right clicks. It's not going to get a ton done, but it's a little bit of annoyance, and I can potentially soak a little bit of energy. And I really don't have much concern about you getting taken down by this comp. Like, I look at this and go, hey, the Hanzo could be annoying, sure, but I really don't think the Hanzo can take me out. A sleep could be annoying, but, like, they're not going to Mei wall behind you. It's not a Widow or an Ashe that's just like headshotting you. You should take somewhat consistent damage here rather than, oh, you got hit for 300 damage at once and you don't really know how to block that, because with that you can't really like predict blocking incoming damage. So this I'd actually like you to get a little more aggressive, because right now you haven't, and what you've done is, okay, well, I'm being a good little off tank and sitting here in the correct spot to guard this positioning, but you're a zero energy Zarya. Like, what are you going to do from here? You sort of
That's true.
needed to, and it's not like every time. If they were too close, you wouldn't. Like if we waited until now and you just spawned, I would not have you walk up here to try to get energy because they're too close, it's too dangerous, they can potentially take you out. But I did want you to try
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get 30 energy, throw a couple right clicks at them.
Barriers on you.
General idea.
Barriers on you.
So I'm good with the projected bubble because you didn't think they were quite this close, I suspect. I'm a lot less good with this. Why do I not like this personal bubble?
Well, they're not really shooting yet. They're far away too. Yeah, so I have to make them shoot at me first, then use the bubble, right? And I used it immediately.
So that's part of it, but it's actually also that I don't think you're good. Yes, it's partially that. If you got 40 energy from this bubble, I'd be less annoyed. But my concern is actually that you're not going to get much energy from this bubble, sure. But also, both of your bubbles are about to be on cooldown, and you didn't get that much value. Even if you got energy, were you able to put this much pressure back on the other team?
Can you repeat the question?
Even if you got good energy from this bubble,
Mhm.
are you going to be able to put good pressure on this enemy team during this bubble? Is this bubble doing anything besides energy? And it's not even doing a terribly
No,
good
it's
job of
just
energy.
energy, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that makes sense in the poke phase when you guys are at poke distance. But this Reinhardt is walking on you, and in the next 2 to 3 seconds, him and his team are going to be fighting your team, right?
Yeah. I would have liked to have bubble then, yeah.
You'd have 0 bubbles, no bubble for you, no bubble for your team, and you're not going to be particularly high energy either. So, like, if we think of Zarya and Zarya's power as sort of a cycle, you're going to be at your weakest because you're going to be not particularly high energy and you're going to have spent your bubbles. And that's not great. If you spent your bubbles, if you've used both bubbles, but you got 80 energy and your Reinhardt got to swing twice during one of your bubbles, your team isn't really weak because the other team is healing, you're high energy, your Reinhardt still has health even though he was swinging. But if you use your bubbles both like let's say you use both your bubbles now, even if you got 60 energy or whatever out of it, you're excuse me, even if you got like 60 energy out of it, your Reinhardt isn't gonna like have gotten swing value out of it. These guys aren't gonna have been terribly threatened by it, and now they could push with their equivalent of bubbles, which in their case is their diva DMing their Reinhardt while he swings, and you guys would be kind of vulnerable on a larger scale. Like I'm not saying Reinhardt swinging with diva matrixing him is just going to destroy you guys or anything, but you guys are going to be behind in the fight, aren't you? Because your Reinhardt is mostly just going to have to put his shield up and take it, right?
That's true. If I would be the enemy Reinhardt and I would see Zarya's buff bubbles, I would definitely push.
Right. Whereas that's less true if like okay, so I mean you'd still probably do it, but like you might push if the enemy Reinhardt had swung with a Zarya bubble or whatever, you might push, but you'd probably wait a couple seconds or a second or two until you were healed up, or you'd go, okay, I've got to do this to keep up type thing, rather than this, which is sort of a hey, there's an opening for them to push. But okay, that's kind of something that we want to be aware of when we're thinking about how our matchup is working because we're controlling most of that as Zarya. Okay. Sure.
I'm gonna die here. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, Anna jumped in front of me and she
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I'm looking at this and I'm going, your bubble had your bubble shouldn't have gone down to that high noon, but you took a high noon shot that was meant for someone else as well. Okay. Okay. But this is also a thing where okay, so I'll do this from another perspective. So we're gonna do this from here because that's fun.
Yeah, they will have the control over the angle, yeah.
They have control over the angle. And if you want Diva, no sweat. This is your job, your fault. You need to make this Cassidy leave. That's just how it works. Like you would accept that. Okay, so now you're on Zarya. So who's gonna handle that casting?
Well, we had some soldier. You would expect him to shoot it,
Okay.
creep, but later in the next fight, I think I was standing there so that they cannot take that angle.
Got it. I don't necessarily need you to do that. And I like, shooting at the diva. This is good. Hey, we want to deal with the off-angling threat, but like you don't have any bubble to give your Reinhardt right now, right?
Yeah.
So if you know this is over here, not necessarily high nooning, but before it's high nooning, we talked about the off-angled threat. This diva off-angled threat made sense to apply damage to her. And you see your teammates agree. They're like, oh, off-angling threat, let's sleep it, let's discord it, we want to do those things. But there's more over here. We support the main push quite well. And we like the main push in terms of we need to make sure that our value gets on Reinhardt, that we're able to get the bubble on him at a good time for him to swing. And we're perfectly happy to help this fight, but even if we were helping this fight, let me go out to a choke here. Let's pretend that we were defending here. If our Reinhardt's swinging like this, we don't just zap from right behind our Reinhardt. We sometimes fan out here and shoot with a little bit of an angle from our Reinhardt, right?
Yeah, off angling. Yeah.
Right, we still off angle. Well, if we saw another Zarya doing the same thing, we'd try to shoot at them to get their personal bubble out, and then we'd swap targets, but to get their personal bubble out, and then eventually to force them back to their Reinhardt, right? Just like
Yeah.
we wanted to with this diva here. And we're ultimately going to do that same thing with basically anyone we can reach. If I can stand here and reach the Cassidy, great. I'm going to shoot the Cassidy and make the Cassidy leave type thing. I'm going to shoot the diva and make the diva leave type thing, or break her mech or whatever. So we do want a little bit of awareness there while maintaining this here, because shooting through this doorway, like this enemy Rein Shield is going to block us. We're happy to start melting the Rein Shield, but this Rein Shield is going to melt us, so if there's anything better to shoot at, we'll happily take it. But that's
I
okay.
see. So it's like I should be searching for the effective angle, not necessary
Right,
where
like,
they're coming from.
I would say if you're off angling, them approaching becomes harder because as they walk forward, they compromise, say, their shield's angle against you, and that works
Mm-hmm.
great. But also, you want to recognize that the other team wants to do what you want to do, and you want to take that away from them, right? Like, if it's a good strategy for you, it's a good strategy for them, so we
Yeah,
better
makes
take it
sense.
away from them. Okay.
Yeah.
And yes, pretend it takes 2,500 points of damage to make Reinhardt get eliminated, whereas it takes, 200 points of damage to make McCree get eliminated. Okay, well, that's an easy equation. Or it takes 300 to 400 points of damage to make a diva leave and give up her boosters. Well, that's a lot more effective than the 2,500 points of damage it takes to get rid of that Reinhardt, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Без труда не видишь и рыбки труда. Go! Charging up!
Okay.
Go!
So here you are.
Без труда не видишь и рыбки труда.
That's not. You're gonna want that one back. I see that he's low health, but I guess there's storm arrows. Like,
Yeah, I'm afraid they're stuck together in
yeah, okay.
this
You're
is-
deciding
yeah.
that he's gonna be the shield for all of them because the bubble is
Yeah.
bigger than his hitbox. Okay.
Yeah.
Charging up! Walk the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Barrier activated.
Sure.
Barriers on you.
That's
Go.
that's a nothing bubble. Like no, absolutely not for that one.
Uh-huh.
My
And
ultimate
you're
is
gonna
charged.
peek this, and there's nothing here.
Ready for
Okay.
battle.
This is pretty aggressive. So you go here.
My ultimate is charged.
And I'm totally fine stepping through here to apply some right clicks, whatever, totally fine. Try to bait them into shooting at you, totally fine with me. But all the way down here is a surprise, and also, why have you bubbled already? You still have 400 health. Again, we sort of need to bait these guys into already being shooting at us, and it becomes harder for them to stop shooting at us once they're already shooting at us, and it also becomes harder for them to stop shooting at us as they see our health going down, right? So, like, if you bubble at 400 health, well, you're still forever away from being eliminated or whatever. But once you get down to, like, 200 health, 250 health, 150 health, they start getting hungry and they're like, no, I want to finish that. Just like we talked about you sort of wanting to finish that Kree with 25 health earlier, they're going
Mhm.
to be the same way and want it, and that makes your bubbles more effective at getting you energy as you bleed it. Now, we don't want you to get eliminated, but you likely see that this bubble is...
My ultimate is charged.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I
Ready
can.
for battle.
Please
Maybe
shoot at
because I
me.
expected them to be a little bit further away.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
But even if they're further away, they're not really shooting at you yet. Like, I don't like this bubble because it's making you weak against a team that now can potentially run you
yeah,
over because you don't have the bubble. But I also don't like this cool bubble because they're not really hurting you yet. Like, again, if you'd just been shot by McCree, yeah, I'd be more interested. But McCree hasn't hit you yet. No one on that team has really hit you and done damage to you yet, right?
yeah. The fact that you said that. Also, if I would bubble myself, it means my temporary shield will go up, so it would make sense to get some damage first.
Potentially, yes.
Makes so
It's
much sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's doesn't quite work that way because you've got to not take damage for 3 seconds to start recovering your shield HP, and bubble lasts for 2, and bubble will frequently get broken before 2. But yes, that is
True.
conceptually correct.
Yeah.
You buy more potential for that, where you only have to not take damage for 1 more second to start regaining. Okay. This is fine. You make him uncomfortable. You're a bit vulnerable, but you make him uncomfortable. And now he's not actually our target anymore. So this is good. We're doing this. We're going to off angle here. You can do this, but I know that stuff is walking through. I saw that defense matrix. I see that mercy beam. I'm perfectly fine shooting at him, but I want to be like lightning to flip over to the right here. Should we still be on Reinhardt?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing. It seems so obvious that I should be shooting right, but
All good.
My ultimate is almost ready. Огонь по готовности.
That was gutsy. But okay.
yeah, I think the reason why I was shooting at Reinhardt is that I looked at my ultimate and I was like trying to juke the Matrix, and this is why I was shooting at whatever.
Sure, yeah, and I get trying to
Yeah.
juke the Matrix, but what you run into is the best way to juke the Matrix is going to be, maybe not the best
Shoot
way,
at
but
Diva.
if you shoot at Diva, she's going
Yeah.
to get uncomfortable and she's not going to be able to stay. And if she boosts
Yeah.
away and you hear her booster stop and she's far enough away that she can't DM from where she is, well, there you go, free grab. So, like,
Makes
yes.
sense.
My ultimate is almost ready. Огонь по готовности.
Okay,
Bring it.
sure, you got it. Totally fine.
Double gravity quadruple kill. I'm on fire. Everyone follow me.
I get that you're worried about the Cassidy. I'm not that worried about the Cassidy, but I see this happen. And you can just right-click her, basically right now. If you right-click the Diva, you want to time it such that you right-click sort of the top of her mech, and then you know that she's going to appear out of the top of her mech. That's how she works.
My idea was that I wanted to leave the baby though.
Yeah, so that might make sense, except that you're not actually going to be able to meaningfully stagger her because that's right here. If you were further away, I'd totally be down with that.
Mhm.
I suppose I don't have an issue with you doing it now. It's just I don't think, like, maybe you can get 2 seconds. I'll take it if we can get 2 seconds. I expect that she's going to get off pretty easy. I also expect your teammates are going to eliminate her, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Everyone follow me.
Isn't it? Yeah. Right pick. I see.
Not a big deal.
And the next fight, I think we're gonna lose in a very stupid way. So
Oh, so Hanamura.
yeah.
All good. Okay, so you're doing your off angling here. I like it.
Trying to get him, but I couldn't.
Yep. Well, you did get some pressure on him, and now he's uncomfortable. And you see he gets uncomfortable because you hurt him, and he goes and takes a worse position, which is just kind of how this works. So that's what we like. Sure. Oh no. Oh no! Reinhardt, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah.
This hurts.
It happened many times in this game, actually. So at least 3 times. No, the next fight will be the one. Yeah, this one is also a little bit crazy.
Really?
but-
You're gonna get back into
Yeah.
this with both of your tanks, and okay, that's That's
Yep.
interesting. That happens.
Yep.
You don't hit your bubble, your personal. Yeah. Okay.
We somehow survived this. Yep.
Target redefined. Area destroyed.
Your Reinhardt got back up quick enough, and their Reinhardt
Give me
sort of
another
backed
shot.
out by hitting you.
Yeah.
Barriers on me. Go.
He seemed low.
Yeah, but like, even by the time you bubble him, he's got his cover. I don't absolutely hate it because you recognize that you're
Barriers on
leaving
me.
line of
Go.
sight, and effectively you're ticking cooldown until you're up here. But
Uh-huh.
like, you could potentially bubble again here, and if you hadn't bubbled there, and you've still got 6 seconds left on the cooldown. So it's not like you hid a ton of bad rotation time with a, like, let me give this bubble away because I'll have it back by the time I get to the next place I could use it anyway. Well, no, not really. So
True.
not really what I'm for, but that's okay. Sure, put some pressure on them. That is the most hopeful bubble I've ever seen. Okay.
Don't hold back.
Come out and face
That's
Good.
barrier activated.
Okay. She doesn't have sleep, so what does that mean? Okay.
I didn't think it mattered, so I was
So,
like, what?
I
And then I was
did you drop
confused. Yeah.
before you realized your team was gone, or did you drop
I
because
I
your team was
think
gone here?
I think I dropped to like stall the point somehow, seeing what happened. I was in total shock at this point. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Um, Unfortunate. I mean, you obviously had a little bit of an option to here go, hey, can I bubble someone? Do I need to bubble someone? It doesn't seem like you should have to bubble someone, but I'm sure there's going
Yeah.
to be a pin here. No, your Reinhardt's just slow.
Yeah.
Well, sort of your Reinhardt slow. I mean, your Reinhardt could have protected himself. These guys got themselves eliminated to the self-destruct. Okay. That's unfortunate. Obviously, you had the option to throw a bubble up there, and it would have been kind of an energy bubble because you wouldn't have expected them to need it to survive. But okay, we'll
Yeah.
just deal. I see this, and I look at this and go, hey, can you force an elimination on one of them? And I suppose the answer is no, simply
Yeah,
because
that's
you
what I
only got
feel as
24
well.
energy. So sure, we'll go sadly Stalkert.
Yeah, but
We
no
won't even do
sense,
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so definitely some preemptive bubbles that are way too far in the hopeful range. Definitely some of that to look at, and then some more thinking about not just off-angling yourself because you were doing that, but thinking about, well, if you want off-angle, the other team wants to off-angle, and let's put more pressure on that. That's, some things that we're seeing. We could talk about reloads. They're there. They're not
Together.
a crisis, but they're there.
There will be a little bit of Zarya, and I think later I changed to ball or something.
Yep, I think I saw that
never
when I just
play ball. Yeah,
jumped.
I never play ball.
Okay.
But it just felt like it.
It felt like the answer.
Yeah.
Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
I mean, I'm not really a fan of that bubble, and why I'm not really a fan of that bubble is, are you going to have this bubble back when your Reinhardt first gets to the choke and is ready to swing?
Yeah, I was afraid he will get eliminated. But to be honest, I just saw Helix, so maybe I shouldn't be afraid of that.
Yeah, you can't really... Bubbling for people, you bubble yourself when your health starts to go down.
Hmm.
You don't necessarily bubble other people when their health goes down because other people don't move like you. You know you have your bubble available when you start to take damage, and so you can stay in the open sight line. You can move less evasively, less erratically, less wildly, and continue to sort of be the same and look like a juicy target to shoot at. They're not going to know that. So like, yeah, you can bubble someone who's low to try to save their life, but it's not generally going to get you very much energy, and we really need our bubbles to do both things, especially when we don't yet have energy. Now, it's one thing to be like, hey, I already have 90 energy, and I see a Tracer is blinking into my Ana, and I want to bubble her. Yeah, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But when you're at 0 energy, when you're at 20 energy, when you're at 40 energy, a bubble to go, I'm going to throw this at you to hope you don't die. You're not a support. Like, your bubbles have to be enabling too. Your bubbles have to, like, have to get you energy and get value. Getting value mostly isn't going to be enough, if that makes sense. And the truth is, they're frequently not getting value when you're going for that sort of bubble anyway. So I'm going to
Yeah, it
try
makes
to
a lot of sense.
work
Yeah.
that out of your repertoire.
Go.
Okay. Because sure enough, we're here. Reinhardt expects that he's going to have a bubble, and I would like him to have a bubble here, right? That would have been a reliable 40 energy bubble. It would have been a reliable, he gets to do damage during it while preserving his health. But right now, you don't have that bubble for him. Instead, you got
Yeah.
a 0 energy bubble.
Yep.
That's the thing. You get used to it. It happens to you a couple times, and you start checking for it every time.
Turret lies in our way.
Practice makes perfect.
I don't remember when I changed, but I know I would change eventually.
Okay.
Get in there.
I don't know. Oh god, that was horrible. Please don't.
As long as you know.
That's more like.
So here you are.
Get in there.
You're going like this. We won't talk about that bubble.
Ready
You
for
bubble
battle.
because you see the fire strike. Sure. You know you're going to get some reliable damage there. Unfortunately, Genji then steps up to
Yeah.
shield because he's like, oh, I wanted to deflect the fire strike. And it's like, you're way late, Genji. This is good. You're doing with some off angle there.
Barrier is on me. Go.
I'm not sure I'd be reload spamming as hard as you were up those stairs, but that's okay. Fine. You're not willing to do it yet anyway. Sure.
Here he goes off.
What's that?
Here he goes off the map again.
Yep,
I am
yep,
taking
his
the
favorite
objective.
spot. Okay, so not a big deal.
Barrier activated.
You're trying to deal with this. There's a nano. Of course, he's going to take the nano right off the map. And you have to
Yeah.
go, okay, that's gone. So now I try to enforce this space that I've got. And you
I
instead
didn't
want
realize
to
there
go
was a
help you,
Mercy
Genji.
behind me.
Yep, I get it. I don't necessarily want you standing here. Like, I totally get that that turret is annoying, is frightening, whatever, but I don't necessarily want to stand here because you can just get shot by everything here. Whereas if you just go,
Yeah.
whatever, the turret's just not a problem for me, you have a little bit more idea to put pressure on these guys to sort of walk on point, walk into a place to fight you. And you don't have a support here to help heal you after you deal with this turret. While dealing with this turret, they all get to shoot at you. This turret isn't really a problem for you. I'd rather deal with this turret when I have teammates pushing through here. I would much rather stand
Yeah,
here
it's
and have them
one
try
of
to...
those things I was like, I shouldn't have done that.
Got it. Okay.
I am taking the objective.
For some reason, I thought nobody will be shooting here, expecting my support to like control this angle somehow, but
Okay.
yes, I should have looked first.
Wiek żywi.
Checking on where your team is helpful. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And somehow, I don't know how, but we're winning this. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but
Looks like Genji went and found Mercy, and Zen got maybe a pick on Torb. I mean, sometimes these fights get messy, and you guys do have respawn advantage. We'll deal. Okay. Uh-huh.
Give me your best
Uh-huh.
shot.
yeah.
And this is you just not seeing the Ana.
I also didn't realize there's a Risa behind me.
Yeah, yeah. What?
Bubble.
I know, and I see that, but like, look at that 27 ammo you have. Oh yeah, you're standing in a transcendence. Like, just melt him. It's not gonna melt is a very strong word for a 0 energy Zarya, but hey.
That's awesome.
Yep, off
Yep.
the edge.
I was quite happy because he had nano, so
Okay.
I was quite
Okay.
happy here.
He has nano, you have the faster respawn. On the flip
Yeah.
side, you were clearly winning that fight. You had
Control link established.
Transcendence going for a little bit still, and
Maximum.
you know, he got ult charge that maybe would have liked to get. But okay, we're on to the Hammond.
I never play Hammond, and I was thinking it's quite a fun tank.
It is. It is a
Um,
fun tank.
So I thought maybe I can learn it next, but yeah, you will see I know nothing about this tank.
Oh boy. Okay, so here we are. You go over here to sort of wait. And you're in a little bit of a dicey situation here where Soldier will just chew through you. So you basically have to decide, well, you can't fight Soldier. Soldier got the jump on you. He does too much damage to you. So if you can't fight, what you have to do is leave. And if you have to leave, you've got to find something to tether on to be able to get out of here quickly. He's doing a pretty good job of body blocking you, where you obviously need a little bit of distance while tethered to get going up to that fireball speed. Once you're at that fireball speed, you'll hit him and move him out of the way. But if you can get close enough before you're at the fireball speed, you can't really go through him with your tether. So you have to hit a different angle so that you do. Now that's fine. I mean, I probably wouldn't have gone for this. I mean, this works. Like, you hit this tether here. Just don't try to go straight through him here, because if you try to go straight through him, he's going to body block you. If you angle out, which you can totally do, you've got this tether, you get to hold it, and you just rapidly adjust your camera over here and go like this, you're still going to pendulum off of this tether point, and you can still build some speed like that, and then, you know, flee and turn in over here or drop down here. But you need to get out, because this isn't really... I don't want to go in right now. I also don't really want to try to force my way through his team, because I don't really have a place to stage back there where I can consistently not take damage. There's no great hiding places. I can't like go hide here. I can't go hide here. This isn't really a permanent place. The only place I can really stage on second point is over here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I want to leave.
Just a quick question. Like, if I
Sure.
have the fireball speed, I go through people, and if not, they block me. Is it
Correct.
the mechanic? Ah, I
Correct.
see. All right.
Yes, that is the mechanic. And you take a little speed. See, now you have the fireball speed, so you go. So you went through those
Yeah.
people, but earlier that soldier could have just stood in your way and blocked you. Okay.
Then I destroyed again.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to brute force in the direction that they're looking, and while Hammond has a little bit of armor to help him engage, the reality is Hammond wants to engage from a different direction than his team. He does not want to, you know, come in from the front with his team behind him. That is not going to be a very happy Hammond time.
Makes sense.
Dein Schutzengel ist da.
Okay, so you guys have lost this fight.
Everyone, heal up.
Okay.
Yep.
I know he seems super fun and super like, I can do anything. I'm independent. You might be
Yeah.
independent, but like, that's your Genji, that's your Reinhardt. You don't necessarily need your Genji to deflect for you, your Reinhardt to shield for you, but if you're going to be successful in Overwatch, and even with the highly independent heroes, you have to use your team as bait. You have to go when your team goes. You might not care what they're doing specifically, but they have to be drawing some level of attention in order for you to get picks if you're trying to get picks by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know
I
better
see.
than this.
Teammates are not friends. They are baits. Got it.
Well, sure. Yeah, let's go with that one. So, like, you're doing this, and your team is now going in because you've gone in, so your teammates are trying to go, oh, I guess we're fighting. But, like, this is going to be a weak fight because we're missing people. And
Yeah,
you've now
true.
spent two of your big cooldowns. Well, two of your cooldowns, anyways. Now you're going to adaptive shield. Right? Okay.
Tactical visor activated.
Right fail, but somehow managed to get out.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah,
And then as
I
Ryan...
think.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I saw your video, and you were talking about like soft dives and like heavy dives, and the reason why I didn't use the shield because I considered it like a soft dive perhaps. But
Sure, which would be totally fine, except that your teammates were walking in, right? Your Zen was in,
yeah,
your your Zen was in, your Anna was in, your Soldier was in. Like it was like, hey, your team has decided this is real, but that's okay.
so instead of soft dive, it became soft feed. Yeah, gotcha.
Ah. Well, also you then use some of your cooldown power, and then you're sort of not in it right as your Reinhardt and Genji get here. Now it's still ultimately gonna work out, it looks like, but
Administered.
oh boy. Okay, so it's super fun to be able to do this, but I have no idea if she has her sleep dart or not. And
Oh,
this
she
is
will sleep me, but I will wake up immediately. Yes.
okay. Yeah,
I
that's
was pretty happy from the outcome because I managed to scare off 2 healers. So
sure.
I didn't feel bad.
Yeah, that can work.
Of course, I did it in my very amateur way, but
Yeah, no, I get it. Okay, so Soldier's still getting enough work done. You're potentially fine here.
yeah, aim, yeah.
Aim is going to be a thing. Hammond will not let you get too far without aim. He is
Yeah.
he's like Orisa in that sense. So here's the thing. I'm looking at this, and you're sort of struggling to get up to fireball speed here. You do get a fireball there. Okay, let's do this again.
Activating shield.
Oh, you just barely got the fireball. I probably wanted to tether from like onto the wall from back here about where her purple spot is on the wall right now, and I
I
wanted to
see.
sort of play from there. And I can hold that tether. I can hit that tether. I can roll into her and roll back. I can roll around the corner and roll back, and I can hit this multiple times without letting go of that tether if I want to. Which is probably where I'd go from here, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think I had the right idea. It's just the wrong implementation.
I'd have gone a little lower than your tether went because you see you sort of hit her, and this is as far as you can go because it starts to pull you up. Whereas if you put that tether a little lower, I just want horizontal, not vertical movement. I know I'm going to struggle to get enough vertical movement here to pile drive. And the reason you'd want vertical movement is so you could hit someone with a fireball, then a tether. And that's not really on the menu right here.
Awesome Crusaders!
Farm up your minefield. This is another thing that you'll get here. So you hit this, and I'm okay with this. I'd probably, at this point, Genji hits it for you, but I'd have probably been looking to move into a... Oh, never mind. You didn't have it yet. You were right. I was going to say to move into a tether to just finish him with Fireball, because I want to, finish him in the more reliable way. Yes.
Reliable.
As well as, yes, you'd send yourself up top there, and then you could pop out up top and minefield the point, and it would be lovely. Okay. So that had no business working, but it did. Cool.
Then we will have something between... I think there will be Orisa and Hammond again from here.
Okay. Oh, you are playing all the tanks.
Yeah, I've been playing Reinhardt and it wasn't going well, and I was like, let's just have fun with Overwatch. And
Sure.
play different tanks.
I get it.
And here I was like thinking about the portal and setting up myself here rather, but
Got it.
teleporter, yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
So the irony is I don't potentially need you here when you're on Orisa, but that's okay. And the irony of why I don't need you here if you're on Orisa is if you're on Orisa and they're on Sim, you can now soften them up a little bit. You've got an Orisa, a Soldier, a Zen, a Torb. You can do pretty good damage to the point. Like, even if they try to huddle on point, you can do pretty good damage on point, maybe let them have a tick, and then walk onto points and run them over meaningfully effectively. It's always a little challenging on ladder, because you don't know if your Reinhardt is just going to walk in and feed before you guys have softened them up, but Sim, you can exhaust that team, wear them down as a poke tank before Sim is allowed to charge up, right? You don't have to get in range of them to do that. So there's sort of less need to be here. That said, I'm not too worried about you standing here. You have Fortify. We'll deal.
Well, later I got the call that they don't have it, so I went forward.
Got it. So, aim is going to be a thing. We look at this. That's a lot of pre-firing. Your reload is actually pretty expensive on Orisa. So, like, this isn't like a Lucio where you just sort of spam the choke, waiting for them to walk through. You're probably... You see this. We haven't done any damage yet. Excuse me. We hit Winston once, it looks like. And we've spent a third of our ammo. Yeah, exactly. So now we're here, and we still have to deal with this barrier. And don't get me wrong, shooting at this barrier is fine, though now you are correct to swap back to Reinhardt. And this is happening. Sure, whatever. Why am I shooting at Reinhardt's, like, stomach? Why am I shooting at Reinhardt's stomach?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, rewatching it now. Yeah.
Okay. He's a tank. He's got a big head hitbox. Yes, you have to lead your shots through a projectile, but he's got a big head hitbox.
I guess maybe because I'm not confident with my aim and I just want to hit a shot rather than miss it.
I know, but you have to go for the aspirational shot. You have to go for the, like, hey, because that's part of how you get better. And you're just going to find that she just doesn't do enough damage to tanks, and tanks are going to walk on her and give her problems if she's not getting some headshots in there.
Makes sense.
Unfortunate time to have to be reloading while that Hanzo is just standing there, doing whatever he wants. Be nice if we had 50 more ammo, but okay. Okay, now we're shooting at Rhine. And now we should flip right back over to that Hanzo.
I didn't see him, you know. I just didn't realize he's there. I mean, he's gonna headshot me in the end.
Yeah. I mean, he's re-peeking that spot. Okay. Okay. Sure. That's a tough one. But yeah, okay. I'm probably not willing to barrier at this point while you still have your Fortify going. Because you see how your barrier is on a 10-second cooldown? Mm-hmm. Does 600 HP last 10 seconds usually?
Can you say again?
Does a 600 HP barrier last 10 seconds usually?
Probably not.
Right. So it's a little dicey. You are in a situation where you're sort of like, hey, you have roughly 2 seconds of Fortify left, a little bit less, and you're spending your barrier, and it's really hard to eliminate you during Fortify. So now, both your Fortify is being used and your barrier is being used, and look at that, right as your Fortify ended, your barrier broke.
Yeah. I see it now.
So we really don't want to barrier most of the time while our Fortify is active. If we've used Fortify either because we got scared, we were rotating, someone was in swinging on us hard, whatever, we generally are going to say, hey, unless I'm like actually about to get eliminated, and that takes quite a bit with Fortify, I don't really want to do the barrier. Yes, the barrier changes the damage I'm taking from very low to 0, but I really would rather, I'm very easy to heal when I have Fortify going. I'm very easy to sustain with Fortify going, and now I'm going to be in a situation where you're kind of worthless for the next 7 seconds, aren't you?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Okay, that doesn't work either. Okay, so you do this. You decide to drop a barrier, and there you're like, yes, I've dropped a barrier, and now I think it's time to reload. Well, do you know how long your reload takes here? Well, let's just watch how long your reload takes.
Yeah, I know. I watched your other video on Orisa, and yeah.
Speaking of barriers getting blown up before they provide any value.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we would like to use barriers when we have enough clip to do work, and the truth is I was fine with that barrier because you still had 50 shots, and I'm willing to use 50 shots, and hey, that's fine, but I'd probably want to reload before throwing up the next barrier type thing. I'd close the angle, reload before the next barrier. I also don't want to barrier while my Fortify is going, but okay. Oh, look, a Hanzo. Yeah.
Yep. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just
Would
want
be
to
nice to have a barrier. Yeah.
It would be, but you just want head on a swivel to be able to poke him out because you're actually very good at challenging snipers because they really count on their headshot. And yeah, Hanzo does a pretty good job at breaking barriers, but your ability to go, now I have a barrier and I get to shoot at you makes him very unhappy as a sniper.
I must rejoin my team.
It makes me rethink a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Little fire strike decoration in our replay viewer there. Okay.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay. Please don't.
But he has an orb on himself, and I have a shield.
Okay, so this is happening. You see Tracer is here. I see Tracer is going, but you decide, hey, I can go, and obviously you find yourself in a 1v4, which I'm not terribly surprised about. And we go for this, and of course you're going to have to adaptive shield. Cool. Okay, and now we're out.
Yeah.
You're not useless, but you're not very useful.
Yeah.
So no adaptive shield, no pile drive. You have to go find a mega, and it would have been so much easier to just go, hey, I'm gonna stand here and threaten this angle, stand here and threaten this angle, or I'm gonna go set up and wait up here, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go as they start to push my Reinhardt, I'm gonna hop up here and I'm gonna roll through them. Or as they go to, trade a swing with my Reinhardt, I do a roll through and knock someone in for us to actually fight, that sort of thing. But that's okay. We'll just be sad instead. Mega, 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 mega. No. Oh boy, that's an interesting decision.
Yep. Well, it kind of worked out because they were low on time and they just turned around to shoot at me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I steal this from Hanzo that's really low. It kind of worked out in the end.
It did. But you see how you entered from the direction that they were paying attention from as opposed to entering from over here? Yes, you'd potentially knock them forward, which maybe we don't want to do, but like you're going to get a hit them. You're probably going to get hit to hit multiple of them. You can still hit that same pile drive, but you're going to be so much less threatened if you come from this outside angle rather than going through here. But that's
I think
okay.
I see what's wrong with my logic. My logic is I want to roll through as many people as I can, but actually I can do it safely from the other angle.
Right. You can roll through still a bunch of people from there, but also like hitting lots of people is good, but you've got to hit them. Sometimes you will hit teams more gently because you don't want to get frozen by Maze, flashed by Cassidy's and then bashed by Briggs, etc. So you'll just roll through the edge of them, knock a couple people, and be like, okay, you got one CC on me, then I got away, or you tried to CC me, but I was already out. Sombras get very unhappy when they swap to Ball or swap to Sombra to try to counter you, and you hit gentle roll throughs that are like, wait, what? You're already gone? But you want to do this from different angles because if you hit them head on, you're going to have to spend your adaptive shield every time, and guess what? You can't afford to only hit a roll into the enemy every 15 seconds, right?
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Seems like you're a ball main now. That's what I'm gathering. These rounds are going well when you swap to Ball.
Yeah, actually the next engage will be... I impressed myself by having a great luck.
Okay.
See, but again, I will engage from a very dangerous angle, yeah.
Sure.
Ball mate, no way.
But
yeah, it's quite fine, I mean...
Pretty meta main tank right now. Not wrong if you want to play some Ball.
Need to learn that wall jump tech first, I guess.
It's a little easier if you do it into a corner like this than it is if you do it into a straight wall. It's also easier as you have any amount of speed. So it's easier when you're coming off of a fireball, even if you've fallen out of fireball, but you're still a little above normal speed, that sort of thing.
2, 1.
And when you're in fireball, it's quite easy.
I see.
Defend objective A.
Okay. That's fine. That's not the best thing in the world. I mean, yes, hey, we
Yep.
got the widow, but like
Yep.
what I do here is this is an angle that sometimes you're just gonna hit because it's an easy roll through.
Mhm.
But I don't want to do this right now. And the reason I don't want to do this right now, A, that's a little too loopy with the tether up there. You're going to prefer to put your tether more like over here because I don't want to spend forever in the air as I'm getting over here. I pretty directly know that I want to roll through these guys and slingshot myself over here, right?
Mhm.
So
Oh, I
this
see. So lower would be better. Yeah, I kind of skyrocketed. That makes sense now.
Yep. So that's one thing. The other thing is, okay, so if you think your team are going to be lemmings and the instant they get to the choke, they're going to try to fight and actually like go all the way to the point, you'd sort of be right to try to go in now ahead of your team so that you can then get the health back and be ready to shoot them from behind. But this is a plat game, yes?
Mhm.
I'm going to
Yeah.
hope that your team aren't quite that much lemmings. So instead, what I want to happen is as your team sort of gets to the choke and gets to do a little bit of trading, cooldown forcing, that's when I'd like you to go through because as you can go through as your team is doing a little skirmish. Not like their serious push, but doing a little skirmish, and then you can get through more cheaply. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, because your ability to do this is going to go down. This is very high, but it's going to go down significantly as the enemy team gets better, or especially if the enemy team has any meaningful CC. Because hey, they get to 6v1 you right now.
Yeah.
There's no reason that widow should be eliminated. I would be so
I know,
annoyed
right?
as that widow.
I
I'm like,
know.
wait, there's a mercy on our team. How did Bald?
I
What?
know.
Like, oh.
I was surprised. I was like, what the heck?
Current status. Securing objective.
And this is fine.
And here I decide to just shoot on Reinhardt to let
Totally
my
fine.
team go
He's
in, so
discorded.
that's
You
okay.
have an angle on him without getting the supports. You're not doing very much damage, and the supports would be better. Like, it's true. It would be better if you went over here and shot at the supports or shot at this Anna and just messed her up a little bit. But this is a very passive way. You've already got pressure on them from the point. This is fine. Okay. Okay. Cool. And now you should already be unballing. Good. Well, we tried.
We'll work on it.
Yep. Spin to win. Okay. So you can do this, but even though it's a 3v1, I probably wouldn't do this. I'd probably shoot at Mercy. It's going to be very hard for you to eliminate until your mechanics get quite a bit better. It's going to be very hard for you to eliminate probably Mercy's with your weapon play, but also anything that Mercy attaches herself to. That's kind of Mercy's role, and one of the things that makes Mercy a bit better in lower lobbies than higher lobbies, where players who aren't, mechanically there struggle to outdo her healing, and eventually then they hit into reload situations. So this is one of those annoying things. So if you're going to get eliminations, you basically have to, when there's a Mercy involved, either be on someone that the Mercy's not on, or if the Mercy shows up, you pretty much have to shoot her to make her leave. You can then say, hey, I can follow her. She Guardian Angels away, and I'm going to follow her and hit her with ability combos because I'm fast. But you can also go, okay, now I can get back on that target I was working on and maybe hit them with my second round of abilities. But I'm probably not going to shoot at Anna. In this moment, does it matter? No, because this Anna's going to get discorded. Your Ryan's going to swing at them. But this Anna's going to go down to your teammates whether you're helping or not. You're not really having much to do with this. Okay, now we're on the Mercy. Cool.
And here I somehow thought they're coming, but there was traces, so I come back, but I don't think it matters.
Okay, so you played a grab bag of heroes here. And if we talk through this grab bag of heroes, our Zarya, what we're going to talk about there probably isn't too surprising. We're really going to need you to be a little stricter with your bubble use. You're a little too willing to just bubble someone just because, they're low health. And it's not really our favorite unless we're already high energy. We really want to have more predictable damage. So like, hey, our Reinhardt is swinging. Hey, our Doomfist is slamming in. Hey, our Reaper is in the enemy's face, where it's going to get value and they can't not shoot at them. right? Like that's really
Yep.
more the territory of what we're looking for with our projected bubbles. Yes, if we see how someone got pulse bombed, of course we're gonna bubble it. We see a Doomfist is slamming through the air into Oriana, of course we can bubble that. But like someone got hooked by Hog, of course we're gonna bubble that. Someone got pinned, of course. But we're looking for those things that are really the energy is there and it's going to potentially save someone type thing. And then likewise on your personal bubbles, you're too hopeful to go, hey, I haven't actually taken this damage yet. I'm still at 400 health, or I hope this Cassidy or this Hanzo is going to shoot at me. It's like, no, I want you to already see that that Hanzo arrow in the air. I want you to have already taken a shot from Cassidy, and now he's hit you once or twice, and he's going to want to hit you more, that sort of thing. So like we're really going to have to work on that to get value out of Zarya. And then the other thing is going to be, and you were doing some of this, but I want to turn it up more, shoot at those off-angle targets. You can shoot at that Rein shield, but shoot at that D.Va behind him when she's available. Shoot at that Cassidy to the right of him when he's available. That'll make him go back behind the Reinhardt shield or leave to go get a health pack like that Hanzo left to go get Mega and became less dangerous, even if his Reinhardt then laughed and pinned you and knocked your Reinhardt off the edge. But hey, either way. So that's what I'd talk about with Zarya. When I get to Orisa, it's really going to come down to two things, which is, again, the shield, where, hey, we really need to understand that our shield does not last very long. Orisa is not a full uptime poke tank. Yes, she's a poke tank. Yes, they've tried to give her very good uptime between Fortify and Barrier, but they ultimately did their barrier watch nerfs and decided, hey, we can't let her be all powerful forever, so her barrier doesn't actually last very long. You really want to make sure that when you deploy that barrier, you can actually use it. So be careful about deploying your barrier when you have to reload. Be careful about deploying your barrier when you have Fortify going. But also, you sort of want to deploy your barrier once you've actually found, no, I am going to fight from here for a bit. Because it's that long cooldown, and you really have to work around it being a long cooldown that will not stand up to heavy fire. So you have to be able to shoot while the barrier is down, because if you're not shooting while the barrier is down, it's going to get shot at and destroyed even faster. That might seem a little weird, like, wait, it's going to get shot at faster if there's no one shooting from behind it, but it is sort of how it works, where if you're shooting back, you make them take cover, and your barrier lasts longer, and that allows you to shoot for longer.
Makes sense, yeah.
And then you have to shoot tanks in the head. This isn't really negotiable. You're actually gonna have to shoot squishies in the head as well to win. Like you are. You're gonna have to be like, hey, for Orisa to work, you got to be able to hit the squishies in the head, use the halt, finish them off. Like that's how she threatens lethal damage. But tanks are the easier thing to start with. So that's where we go with that. And then Hammond. Hammond, I love it. I love to see the Hammond, but we've got to hit enemies from directions that they're not expecting, and we have to go in when our team is relevant. We have to. Even if we're just taking space, like we did when we got the Widow elimination. We were expecting to take space there, set up behind them, and then be ready to help our team. We actually even want to do that space breakthrough most of the time to get to that proper staging, while our team is kind of fake pushing to give us resistance, or sort of at the choke, sort of doing something that causes us to, hey, even if I have to roll through from the same direction as my team, at least my team is sort of fighting them, and they can't just all immediately turn and deal with me while I then leave to go get health back. So hit from a different direction than your team, but in general, use your team. Like just like you wouldn't walk into the enemy team with Reinhardt while your Genji was in spawn most of the time, you still can't really do it with Ball unless you've also got people on their side in spawn, right? So
Yeah, true.
that's a lot of things. I'm trying not to overwhelm you, but those are some sort
Yeah.
of key tidbits that you need for each hero there that we're seeing in your gameplay, could use some polish. So any questions, concerns, things you want to get into?
No, I'm really happy with everything. Do you maybe have an advice to me to like you better concentrate on this tank, or do you think like trying variety of them? Like I would imagine concentrating on one thing first would be a good idea,
It
right?
is, yes. It is good to concentrate on one thing first. And, you're coming off of being a Reinhardt player here, so do you want to build... Sorry, not enough coffee. My fault. Do you want to build out a main tank pool, or do you want to have an off tank because you feel like you've got a couple main tanks already, and in that rare situation where you land double main tank, you feel helpless?
Maybe main tank pool would be better. I guess there are not many people who play main tank, so usually they
I
pick up
agree.
the off tank. Yeah.
I agree. So I think a main tank pool is better. And of what we saw here, we saw an Orisa and a Hammond. They definitely both need work, but I would say, well, yes, you can always cheat. You can't always. Well, you can frequently cheese double shield on ladder and make the other team very, very happy. Ball is a very effective tank. He's a good tank to be able to swap to that has less overlap with Reinhardt in the situations you want to play them in. Don't get me wrong, Orisa and Reinhardt are very different, but like, how do I put this? If you have a Sombra and a Tracer on your team, and you
Hmm.
pull out Reinhardt or Orisa, you're not going to work amazingly, right?
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Right. Whereas if you have a McCree Ash on your team, okay, you pull out Orisa, and that's great. You pull out Reinhardt, that's still workable too. That's not a perfect example. We could go like harder poke with like Widow plus Ash, Hanzo plus Pharah, something like that, where your Reinhardt starts becoming a little bit worse. But like, it's probably easier to sub Reinhardt into comps that would really prefer an Orisa than it is to sub either of them into a Hammond comp, right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
And also, yeah. So I'd look at this and sort of say Hammond is fun. Hammond is in a pretty good spot right now as a hero to be playing. You will get some hate of, can you get off Hammond, blah 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 blah, but you just kind of ignore it, turn off chat, or, if you want to go, okay, fine, you can play Reinhardt because that's in your pool. That's ultimately a you decision. I say whatever, no, play your Hammond. But yeah, I would say
I mean,
Hammond is
I
a good time to
expect if
learn
I
him.
will do a good job on Hammond, nobody will complain. So if I want to train
Hammond
it,
will
I can always go
you'll
quick plat.
surprise people.
Mm-hmm.
You'll Hammond.
Oh,
I
really?
think you might get surprised where you'll look at some of those matches and be like, wait, you have two deaths and I don't know 40 eliminations, and your team is going, where were you, Hammond? What are you doing? Please switch. And you're just like, but hey,
Eh, who cares?
if you're not right in front of them, they can't see you. Exactly. Who cares is the right
Yeah,
answer.
who
Okay.
cares? Yeah, I'm training my own tanks. It should be good. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
I see. So maybe I should basically look on one DPS I have and then adjust. Maybe that's good
Um,
start.
that can
Or
work.
not.
That can be a good way
Mm-hmm.
to start. You could also just one trick Hammond because you're learning and it's more focused practice. It's ultimately up to you, but you do you in that front. You could one trick Hammond for a bit. You could do based on the map that you're on. You could start Hammond, and if you're not finding success, swap to Rhine. Though that's not my favorite because you probably are a lot more flexible in where you can play Rhine than Hammond right now. That'll change
Mm-hmm.
over time. Or you could discover, hey, you're playing Hammond until there's just too many counters that you can't handle that come out. Like you're playing Hammond until you see, okay, well now you guys are on, let's say Anna plus Sombra plus May. Okay, fine, I'll swap back to Reinhardt.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sort of thing.
I see.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, is there any combo that Hammond would be like super bad at, like looking at my other tank, or
Any
that it doesn't?
combo that Hammond would be super bad at? What do you mean?
Like for example, I don't know, hog and ball. Is it playable or should I avoid it or
Oh
something
no,
like that?
Hagenball is gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Hagenball is, not like the most amazing comp ever, but they're both pretty independent heroes. Hammond is pretty fine with most tanks. I'd actually argue, let's see, Hammond Orisa is similarly fine. It's not like amazing. Hammond Winston has to hit hard dives, but is fine. Hammond loves divas and sigmas. Really, I would say Hammond doesn't have a terrible pairing if you're actually playing him reasonably well. I don't love Hammond with Reinhardt. I'd probably call Hammond Reinhardt the weakest overall pairing of not of tanks, but of Hammond with another tank is probably Hammond Reinhardt. But
Mm-hmm.
again, how often do you have a Reinhardt? And even that, even though it doesn't have any great synergies, it sort of has the bonus of your team's not complaining about you being on Hammond. So, maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's its own thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
I see. All right. So
okay.
yeah, maybe I shall try some Hammonds from
Okay.
now. Thank you
Cool.
so much.
Cool. No problem.
Yeah.
Then we can go ahead and call this one here.